And then lighthouses had their own Morse code, but they were visual Morse codes. So this is RWFL7, which means red, white, flashing 7-second period.
John Gronberg is the commissioner for the Holland Harbor Historical Lighthouse Commission. He is an expert on lighthouse history and functionality, and he gave us a tour of the Holland Harbor Light, widely known as Big Red.
And so this one, at 56 feet above mean Lake Michigan level, is rated at 12 miles. You can actually see it for 15 miles, maybe a little bit more. And so the higher it is, the better it is.
In addition to varying heights, each lighthouse also has a unique characteristic of light, which allows mariners to tell one light and therefore location from another. This helps ships navigate to the correct port.
And so a navigational chart is going to show this as RWFL7.
With thousands of miles of Great Lakes coastline, this was imperative before the arrival of modern technology and global positioning systems, especially from the turn of the century into the 1940s.
Mariners would use celestial navigation, but if it's clouded, you can't do that, so you have to see a light someplace in order to, and you want to triangulate, you want to see other lights. And so you try and keep in the old days, you would try and keep in sight of something all the time.
Michigan alone has 130 lighthouses, more than any other state.
Some lights are, fixed, where they're just a white light or a red light or something like that. But the ones that are at the entrances to commercial channels, then they're the ones that have a visual Morse code to them.
Functionality was key. Adjacent to Big Red, there was a water tower.
And the idea was, if you're a mariner, and if you're 5 miles out, you can line this water tower up with the top of that tower, and it tells you whether you are going correctly or not. Of course, in a storm, it identifies exactly where you are, and pre having GPS and the rest, you would range how far you are from that light. And of course, you can tell, you would know how fast your boat is going, so you can see how fast the light changes from this location to the next location, so you can then gauge how far you are. And of course, that's what provides safety coming into a port if there are rocks and everything else. And so they were exceptionally important from that standpoint.
As technology advanced in recent decades, the necessity of lighthouses diminished.
The Lighthouse Preservation Act, there were several Lighthouse Preservation Acts that have passed over a period of time, starting in the early 90s. Those gave the ability of gifting lighthouses to either municipalities or not-for-profits.
Today, Big Red stands proud on the southern shore of the Holland Channel. Resting on private property, local residents can reach it by foot on designated days of the week. Of the hundreds of Great Lakes lighthouses that remain, each has its own light characteristic for navigation, along with its own history and story to tell. And of course, that is just a small piece of the great beauty surrounding the Great Lakes.